1, 2, 3. How you doing, folks? Wow. Yeah. Oh, welcome to. We got a train in the background, and yeah, the train has gone now. Welcome to lockdown Britain. The only reason why you can come out is to either exercise or go shopping or go to work. If you can't work from home, and if you gotta look after somebody who's vulnerable, if you're vulnerable or you're in a care bubble, I've just realized something about this location is that I've got the train in the background, so it might be a bit noisy, but we're going to carry on. So here's the thing. What's the first thing about keeping fit? Well, in my books, the first thing about keeping fit is actually what you ate last night and the sleep you had last night and what you ate this morning. So the first thing about keeping fit is that it's what you eat. It's actually your diet. And you know what's really good about the train is that every time it passes, I could do an exercise for you. So the first thing that is important when you're keeping fit is actually your diet, what you eat. So you got to eat healthily, you got to sleep healthily, and you got to rest. If you ain't mentally ready to exercise, then it's no good, because you could, for me anyway, you could turn up where you're going and you won't really have the full exercise, or you won't really get into the full exercise thing. But here in Finsbury Park, part of my exercise routine is that my journey here, I realize, is actually my warm-up session, because I'm actually walking. So, you know, it's part of that routine, that exercise routine. So the first part is actually your diet, what you eat and how you sleep, and probably even how you sleep as in your bed, because if your bed, the posture and the bed is wrong, you're going to end up with backaches and this aches and that aches. So your sleep, your bed, sometime I got backaches, sometime actually right now I've got sort of mid backache. Do some pull-ups, and it stresses a couple of the middle vertebrae. So the last time I spoke, it was the 1st of January 2021, here in Finsbury Park. There you go, train, time for some exercise. Touch your toes, back up. There you go. Yeah, so it was the 1st of January 2020, and I thought I was the only one living in the Twilight zone, because the whole virus thing was getting worse, and the government was on the verge. Well, they weren't on the verge, we didn't know the government was actually saying here in the UK that y'all got to go to school. There'll be no lockdown on school and education because everything is okay, everything is normal, and a lot of people in the education, head teachers, healthcare professionals say no, the virus situation is out of hand, lockdown. And so when was that? That was the Friday. So the Sunday before the Monday. I think the Monday was going to be like the 3rd of January, where everybody's going to go back to normal. Everybody did go to. So that was the Sunday. I was more worried about there should be a lockdown, and the noises got louder. The opposition. The opposition minister, Claire Starmer, is his name Claire Starmer? Anyway, Sir, is a Sir. Anyway, he said, opposition Labour Party leader said Boris Johnson should lock down everything. I think that was the Sunday. Monday, everybody go and do things normal. I think it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday. Boris did a press conference. Right, lockdown starting from tonight, tomorrow meaning yesterday. Today's Thursday, the 7th of January. So yesterday, the 6th. Wednesday, so midnight starting, and it was Tuesday. It's a complete lockdown. So I am not. So when I last spoke to you, or if you listen to my podcast, or even if this is the first time, then you could go and go back to the first podcast. Yes, you can go back to the first podcast and see what I said. So I said I was living in a parallel universe. This was the Twilight Zone. I was in the Twilight Zone. I was in the parallel universe. But now we are in lockdown, and we're in lockdown with extra knobs on. Some people call it Tier 5. Now, for the last couple of days, I've been trying to find out specifically what the lockdown criteria is. We got additional lockdown on top of the additional lockdown. And yesterday, Wednesday, the government had a session, whereas the MPs were debating it in Parliament in order to pass the legal aspect of it. So what I assume the legal aspects was the enforcement, the fines, the legality, the fines, and really getting approval by the other MPs, the House of Commons, all the MPs, head of each of the different areas in the whole of England, you know. So each area. So we have about 360 of them, 360 districts. But you know what? I think in London it is really more concentrated. For each borough in London, we got an MP. But when I think about as we go further out, there's bigger space, and it's rural area, and so MPs got bigger space rather than London, which is all compact. Central London, Greater London, each area is compact. Now, the average constituency in London, the average borough, has about 100,000 voting members. Now, I wanted to say residents, but sometimes not all the residents are on the voters registered. So roughly each borough has about 100 and 100,000 voters registered to vote. Now, if you want to play any part in society in the UK, you've got to be, you got to pay your council tax. You've got to be registered with a council so you can get council services. In fact, you need to be registered with your council in order to be part of the system. Credit check. Most of the credit check agencies, that's the first thing they do. They check whether you are on your local council registered. If you're not on that registry, then sometimes it's pretty difficult to get things like bank accounts, financial services. Maybe if the police stops you and they need to do a check on you, they probably have access to that register. If the police stop you and you're not on any register and you haven't got any ID, it's highly probable that they can arrest you as an illegal immigrant, photograph you and fingerprint you. Let me put my gloves on. It's getting a bit cold. Yeah, they can arrest you, photograph you, because they don't know who you are. You got no ID on you. So voting 100,000, registered with your local council. Voters, MPs, they're in the House of Commons yesterday. So they were voting on letting Boris legitimize this lockdown number 3. So that is probably a good reason, because it's getting cold. Oh. Right. Temperature is about 3 degrees at the moment, and with the wind chill, because I'm a little bit higher, I'm sure you can feel it like that. I'm a little bit higher, so I can feel the wind. So it's 0 degrees, freezing. So if you are exercising, once you've calmed down, then the cold is going to hit you. And if you are exercising, you've got to be very careful that when the body cools down, that when your body cools down, that the cold doesn't get you, and you get a cold. And this is not, one, it's not the season, and two, in pandemic's time, it's one of the worst times. So yesterday the MPs were debating Boris's new lockdown. So we're in tier 5. In fact, I've searching through the government website to find out what the new details are. Just before I come out, I was going through about 3 different daily newspapers, and guess what? They all have different aspects of what the new lockdown is, but none of them is really. They are concentrating on it, but they're not really emphasizing that we're in a lockdown. This is but what I'm finding with the newspapers, they are before this extreme lockdown which we're in right now. Oh, when is it going to end? Well, we don't know, because they say between so we're in January, so they're talking about now mid-February to March. And then they're not saying it's going to end there, they're saying we're going to review the situation, right? So they're not committing that this lockdown is going to end. But by the way, people out there, listen, the government is not in control of the virus. You know who's in control of this situation? No, man is not in control of this situation. The virus is in control of the situation. And if you think your government is going to tell you precisely when and what day that the virus is going to go away, you're deluding yourself. And what's another delusion? The vaccine. Okay, I'm not one for saying the vaccine is bad, but this is the basic thing at the moment. The vaccine takes about Once you get the vaccine, it takes about 14 days or so to be active in your body, right? So you can get some antibodies to fight against the if you get a major attack of the virus. Right. The reason why I'm exercising is because in the background you can hear the train, which is kind of a good thing, because I could exercise and talk to you. So yeah, the thing about the vaccine is this. So it takes 14 days. Plus you got to get a second hit of the vaccine. But basically, the vaccine won't be. So a lot of people are getting the vaccine now. Okay, but the official figure, 1 million people. 2 million. Is it 1 million or 2 million people's got the vaccine, right? And that's in the vulnerable group. And then when it comes to the vaccine, for you to get it, you got to be in that under 60s, not under 60s, over 60s or over 80s, vulnerable, immune, some form of immune deficiency, some kind of underlying problem, asthma, and also the frontline workers, I think, are a high priority on that, including the nurses and the doctors, because they're the ones who have to look after you sick people, right? And if they're constantly in that environment, then it only makes sense. But the other thing I'm actually hearing, back to the vaccine. So it takes a while for it to actually kick in, to actually work. But the other part is that they are actually saying that they're only going to give you one part of the vaccine and not the second part. All the professionals are saying, the healthcare professional and the World Health Organization are saying that they don't really recommend only having one part. Everything is geared up for having two parts of the vaccine. But here's the second thing, and I've heard it from different sources. If you don't get the full course of the vaccine, the two parts, and you're only partially protected from just having one part, it's possible that the virus can mutate. Can you hear me there? Yeah, well, it looks like you can, because I'm looking at it. Yeah, it looks like the virus can mutate. Oh, it's even louder now. It looks like the virus can mutate and be vaccine resistant. It will develop a resistance. One of the specialists I've heard today says the vaccine, the virus is constantly mutating. It's a very clever virus, this one, constantly mutating, and it's probable that it will mutate into a form where it is vaccine resistant. Now, I know, so there's a worldwide race to get everybody vaccinated, because the virus is actually mutating. So we've got two identifiable mutated strand at the moment, which is doing the business. The one that's really, really doing the business the number one champion virus of the world at the moment is the UK variant, which is not only the whole of the UK has been infected by this mutant virus, to be negative or derogatory. There's a train in the background. Fantastic exercises. Number one virus is the UK virus, the UK mutant. Everybody in the UK is infected, so much so there's a complete lockdown. You're not supposed to leave your house. You're not supposed to be on the street for no other reason probably for about 3 reasons. You're either going to work, or no other reasons for being on the streets or traveling than either going to work because you can't work at home, going to exercise, or there's other parts to it. So going to work, going to exercise, or going shopping. These are the 3 basic reasons you should be out and about. You're allowed to exercise in the park. You're only allowed to be with 1 person. No 6 people anymore. You're not even allowed to have strangers in your house. And there's all that kind of rules associated to it. So the number 1 virus at the moment is the UK variant. Some people call it the UK plague, might even say the London plague. Imaginary boxing ring there. Yeah, got me in my exercising routine now. So you gotta be fast. Right, yeah, so, and the second variant coming up, the second variant coming up from behind is the South African, the challenger from South Africa, the variant. Now, the secret weapon about this South African variant of the virus, I heard, is actually it may be vaccine resistant. So coming up behind, right, so there has been, listening to the news a couple of days, no, not a couple of days, a couple of hours ago, one specialist said it might be vaccine resistant. So the number 1 virus doing the rounds, that's why London is on a tier 5 lockdown. I don't even know what a tier 5 lockdown is. I don't even know what all of lockdown restrictions are. So I was looking through 3 newspapers. I was actually looking at the government website the day before, the Wednesday, and I said, let me see what the House of Commons MPs, what they're debating about, and then I'll look at the report afterwards, which is like today. But the thing that hit the headline today is not the passing of the new restrictions via our Prime Minister Boris Johnson, but what happened in America literally last night, literally a few hours ago. So there I was at home watching the debate in the House of Commons, and most of the MPs stood up and they were talking about 3 million people who are not covered by the subsidy finance system, and they're falling through the gap. MPs was talking about people in poverty, as in food, the homeless, people being evicted, and the strange new thing that we didn't think about before is called the digital divide, because a lot of kids now have to study at home, and if you haven't got a device, a mobile phone with internet connection, you're locked out. And that's another divide in society, the sort of digital divide. So this is what some of the things that the MPs were debating about their constituency, the disparity, poverty disparity, really, with their constituents. And then the lockdown compounds it. So that's kind of amazing, really. The lockdown, the virus, compounds your disparity in life. So even the sick people not going to hospital because they're scared that they're gonna catch COVID, so they stay at home and suffer. Some are even dying. If you're poor, you're even more poor now. If you ain't got work, if you're poor and you ain't got work, then you're gonna be out in the streets. You can't pay the rent. Some people their income is so low that if they stop working, they can't pay the rent. So even though they've been told they got the virus, they still continue working because the subsidy money that they'll get, if they get any, won't be enough. So they continue working. The sick pay, it's about £100 a week. If you've lost your job, if you've got a high-paying job, £50,000 a year, and you I don't know how much that, about four grand a month, maybe £400 a month with a universal credit. You know, that's one big drop. Oh, the mental health issue. There's higher and higher, or more and more reporting of people taking their lives, suicide case, depression. Listening to a broadcaster, he ended yesterday ended his broadcast saying tribute to somebody he knew took their own life a month or so ago, a few weeks ago. So, although that's what the MPs were on. So I was watching the debate in the House of Commons, and they voted it and passed it through. A quick keep fit. It's rush hour. It's about 4 o'clock now. Trains are either going or coming. So one of the first keep fit tests that I would actually ask you to do. I'm not really a keep fit instructor, but I've got a couple of friends, can't see them anymore. COVID. They look at me and they go, "Oh, you look a very fit guy. Was I in the military?" No, I was never in the military. Never wanted to be. But my own personal regime is as strict as probably some of them. So the first lesson I would say, if I wanted to test you this year, I'll say touch your toes. Let's do it from over here. Touch your toes. Or even ooh, that's the lower back there. Oh, the next one, stand on one leg. That's it. Stand on one leg. Stand on the other leg. Balance. Balance. Go practice that one. There you go. Simple. Standing on one leg, touching your toes. Right, not everybody can do this. And if there's any part of your body when you're exercising that gives you pain, stop exercising. Right, and don't stress the joint or don't stress that thing. So watching the House of Commons debate yesterday. So it had finished, or I switched over to Channel 4 News to see their summary on the situation, and then suddenly I mean, I got radio, I got TV, I got internet. So on the TV it said people marching down to the to Washington, to the House of House of Congress, people marching while they were actually in session. So I watched the whole thing unfold, and you know, I station by station. So I switched now to some of the American station, Fox, CNN, CNBC, to see what's happening. The local station here in London was thinging in. So more or less in real time saw them march up the steps of the House of Congress, kick down the door, flooded in, and then at a certain point, one of the media said that somebody had been shot. It was a woman, and they had no information, but just somebody had been shot. And then as time went on, which is, let's say, the half an hour period, they talked about, oh, it's a woman, middle-aged, about 30. And so this time now, the whole of the House of Congress now had emptied out. The security had ushered everybody into a secret underground location somewhere in the House of Congress. And in the next 15 minutes, they had managed to usher everybody out of all the protesters out of the house of the house there, where they're having the debate. Meanwhile, there was a newscast with the mayor of Chocolate City, Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, and they had the mayor, black mayor, head of police, black head of police, and other people who were in control of the situation. They said, oh, we got some troopers coming in from neighboring county. We got Metropolitan Police, we got local police. They got about 3 sets of police, and they had neighborhood police. We got the situation under control. So this was about 5:30 Eastern Time, America. So they had the press conference. So there's a curfew that meant to come down at 6 o'clock. So it's half an hour before the curfew. They still had loads of people in front of the Congress building there, and eventually they just shifted them all down. 7 o'clock they had got them to a certain part, and then they shifted them all out again further out on the streets. And by around 6:37 now, there wasn't any major kerfuffle or anything. I'm watching different broadcasts. The House said that they were gonna continue and pass the motion of a ceremonial thing about getting Joe Biden the presidency. So I watched it all live. But the more interesting thing was that I watched the House of Congress. The House of Congress, anyway. I watched the debate live from, the House of Congress, because the other one's the Senate, the House of the Senate. House of Congress. So I watched the whole debate. Well, I didn't watch the whole debate. I fell asleep towards early morning, which is about 5 o'clock UK time ago. Right, it's time to go. So I watched all the debate live from the House of Congress. Also, some of the American news channels, CNN was thinking it live before Chris Cuomo, yes, present on CNN. Now, Chris is the brother of the New York governor. His first name slipped me at the moment. So, the governor of New York, Chris Cuomo, his brother, is a presenter on CNN. Also, he's a lawyer, or was an ex-lawyer, and sometimes Chris will have his brother, the governor of New York, on the show, and they're honest with each other. In fact, they're not honest with each other. They're not honest with themselves. They're honest with me and you, because they don't mess around. And it's like, you know, kids fighting and rival siblings. But it's all good because they challenge each other. They're skilled professionals. Love to watch them. Either one, Chris or Big Brother Kumo, who's the governor. So anyway, during Chris Kumo show, I switched to the House of Congress. I got a stream straight from the House, and I watched each member went up there for their 5 minutes and gave their speech, and so they didn't block that process. They had thinged it through. So I watched it live. So later on, let's say today, more of the facts that came through was the woman that was shot was actually trying to break into the chambers where they were actually debating, and the security had shot her. But you know what's brilliant? I've really got to congratulate the security forces there, because if you're on the cutting edge, right, and you've got a mob trying to break into a place, and you there with your team, do you open fire? If they open fire, there would have been a kind of massacre, you know, not one person being killed, but a whole heap of people. Because if you watch the footage, a whole heap of people. You got a door here, you got your men, right, and they come in. What do you do? So it's amazing. Only one person got killed. I heard like 3 other people died. Not in that situation, but natural causes, maybe heart attack, maybe the cold, maybe other related, but not related to that incident. So that was handled excellent. You know, I was switching from Fox to CNN and Fox was going, oh, there got to be questions answered that the people shouldn't have been able to breach and get into the House of Congress there. But yes, I agree. But you know what? It's still handled well. The people managed to get to protest how they wanted to protest. They know it's wrong, but it was handled correctly. But I don't think ever that will happen again, right? And then earlier on today, Donald Trump says, okay, I would, I accept that Joe Biden is the. No, he didn't say that. What he said was, I accept the transition, but they still stole the election from me, right? So he's got a marauding army out there who are ready to go to battle on his behalf. So talking about parallel universe and Twilight Zone. So this is 2021. So on the 1st of January, I was saying that some people were saying, oh, good riddance to 2020. That was bad. No. And welcome 2021. It's going to be better. No. Welcome to hell. I said it on January the 1st. It's the 7th of January now. We're in lockdown 5 or 4 with bells on. Right? We got to stay in. We can't leave our place only for specific reasons. And one of the places you can go is to the park and to do exercises. I'm talking about exercises, you ladies out there. Right? Now it's good to keep fit, but what you should do is keep fit with a self-defense thing in mind. Okay, A good example is judo. So judo is good for keeping fit and as self-defense, right? Now there are other self-defense type things you can do and also keep fit. Now choose carefully. I did do judo at school. The reason I say judo, because judo is about using your opponent's force against them. But you got to choose your class, because many years ago, I don't do judo anymore. I did it many years ago, and like 20-30 years ago, and I just I was looking around for a class, and when I went to the class, I could see people there with arms in bandage and legs in bandage, and I'm thinking to myself, this ain't a good class, right? Because the teacher was, I think it was a competition, because you got these people who are like, let's say, British judo champion, and in order to keep their money coming in, or how to make a living, or part of the exercise, they teach competitive judo. But judo, to me, is a great art, martial art. I think it comes under martial art for the ladies. Teaches you how to throw. You know, teaches you how to. Still never got that right. You know, headlocks. You know, arm locks. You know. So if you're gonna do keep fit, ladies, get a 2-in-1. When I say a 2-in-1, do a keep fit that is also a self-defense as well, right? And the thing about self-defense, right, is you got to practice till you know how to do it unconscious, till you know how to do it in your sleep. Because how defense work is that if all of a sudden somebody surprises you or jumps on you, you automatically, right? And for you to go into the automatic, you have to train, and instinctively you'll do that. So if there's one thing about you ladies doing keep fit, do something with a defense element to it. You know, it'll teach you how to block, teach you how to kick them in the shins, right? Gives you a forearm smash, even wrestling, forearm smash, right? You know, or you could do your own little study on, you know, but it's great for throwing people. Right. So, watch the whole American thing unfold. Back to the real virus. Oh, America, 3,500 people are dying a day. So for a brief moment, brief 12, 24 hours, the virus didn't make the headline. It was President Trump and his antics, and the virus didn't make the headline. All right, we're losing light. I think you can just about see me moving around. Time now is about 4 o'clock. We're in winter. Temperature is about 2 degrees. We're down here in Prinsley Park. We're exercising. This is a keep fit video. So the virus, 3,500 dying every day in America. I don't know what the infection rate is like, right? But in the UK, the infection rate is 60,000 a day. Infection rate in the UK is 60,000 a day with this new virus. The death rate yesterday was over 1,000. So, let me say that again. 60,000 a day yesterday, so the average in the 50,000 a day infection. The death rate yesterday was 1,000. We can't have a high death rate of 1,000. So it was like 650, 750, now it's 1,000. If it remains at 1,000, I don't know, big question mark. The capacity, the hospitalization, people on in hospital, I'm not sure whether on ICU or critical care, but 30,000 people are in hospital with the COVID virus. Now, the ICU, whether they're in ICU or not, I think the ICUs are up to capacity. Next time I'll have a little bit more figures, whether it makes any difference to you or not. But basically, the hospital has reached the capacity. So one of the things I've heard in the intricacies of looking after people in the ICU is that before ICU used to have one nurse to one intensive care patient. Right now, we have one nurse to 3 intensive care patients. So they've increased the capacity in that sense. But the other thing that's happening is that the doctors and nurses are suffering from exhaustion. The doctors and nurses are not turning up. Some of them are sick, some of them are catching COVID, right? There's a shortage. So even though they might have the beds and they might have the ICU, they haven't got the staff, they haven't got the medical staff to actually look after the patient. Now they're not, they have slightly developed the technique a bit more. They don't, the invasive technique of pumping oxygen down your throat. They have a, before you even get on that stage, they got another stage where they put almost a thing over your head and oxygen is pumped through that. I think I heard. I think I heard one patient says when you got the thing on your head and they pump in, it's like being in a wind tunnel. So because of all that noise and the pumping of the air, trying to get the air pumped into your lungs, because of the noise and whatever, they sedate you, because just I don't know what would drive you mad, or what would kill you first, the virus or the noise from this thing forcing oxygen into your lungs. If it's not forced in, there's not enough oxygen and your lungs is filling up with the ammonia mucus kind of thing, and that's why they turn them on their back in order so that it can thing out, and probably have a tube in there to kind of suck out some of the mucus, and then you got oxygen being pumped in. Now, see, I haven't gone into the details about the treatment, but so you got one nurse now. Before it used to be 1-to-1, now you got one nurse to 3. So they've increased their sort of capacity in that sense, But it's exhausting on the nurse. It's exhausting on the medical staff. So they've reached a real critical point at the moment. So 1,000 has died. Right. The capacities are very close to maximum. They're finding more inventive ways of treating people. Right. It's literally like a war. You gotta treat it like a war situation. Anyway, so basically, no, I'm not the only one in the Twilight Zone. Basically, I'm not the only one in a different dimension. Yeah. I'm not the only one in Twilight Zone. I'm not the only one in a different dimension. We're all in that alternative universe right now in the UK because we're under lockdown. It's near total lockdown. We're near total lockdown, and we just gotta wait it out and watch the figures, But meanwhile, your people's personal situations are changing. People's mental health, physical health, financial health, you know, is adding to the situation. Not everybody can handle it. It's been a year now, basically. Some people are falling apart. You know, I mean, my situation, by the end of next year, I might be much better off, but next couple of months, I might be out on the streets. Funny conundrum, but that's my personal situation. Other people's personal situation. Let me conclude, because we're losing light. All right. Other people's situation is that, look, I hope you got a place to stay. I hope it's warm. I hope you got food to eat. I hope you got some kind of communication, either with your pets. You got a pet, you know, even if you go out and walk and you talk to a squirrel, you know, keep your communication with some other life form or animal or human, you know. I hope you got that. I hope you're out of the rain and you're in the warm. And it's very stringent now that you gotta wear your mask, you gotta wash your hands, wear gloves, and basically stay away from people, stay away from everybody. No socializing. Don't see anybody. Don't talk to anybody. I'll see you next time. Hey, Big A!